Hello.
Hi, Charlotte.
And hello to everyone watching. Happy Friday.
Hi.
And cheers. I know I've got my glass
Cheers.
of wine. Oh, these are pins.
I know, my first one of the year, and what a day for it.
I know. Great.
Anyway.
I mean, if you're going to have a crack out the pins, then at least a special occasion, which this definitely counts as.
And the straws, got to have the straws.
Yes, the little candy cane straws. Oh, I love that. The fruit as well. You've really gone all out. Whereas all I had to do was pour the wine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's so lovely to see you.
I know.
Online. And everyone, this is the fabulous Lucy King, one of our Mills Boon modern authors. And I'm her editor, Charlotte. And it's just so nice to kind of be a bit dressed up and online and having a drink.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah, I'm trying to think when the last time I actually saw you in person was, and it must be
2 years ago, maybe.
2 years ago for lunch.
Yeah,
long
that's
time
right.
ago. Yeah,
very long time ago.
Wow. Well, when we're allowed, well, we are allowed, but when things are kind of a bit more back to normal, we'll have to definitely be doing that again.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Definitely. Should we kick things off, get things started? So our first question is, can you tell readers a little bit more about the Mills and Boon Modern series?
Yes, well, I love it. I've been a great fan of it, a reader of it for a lot longer than I've been writing it. But it's kind of, it's got the drama, it's got the passion, the angst. It's kind of like got everything you could want in a really powerful romance. And I love the intense kind of connection between the characters. There's a really wide variety of characters that you can have, and I just love it all. I love the kind of I think the locations are great. It's all about the exotic, the escapist fantasy, and something that you can really kind of lose yourself in, especially now, which is kind of everybody needs a bit of escape.
Yeah, I think that intensity on just every level that just really captivates you. Because I, like you, also before I worked here, was also a reader. I picked up my first Mills and Boon when I was on holiday in Greece, which I feel like is very apt for modern series. Yeah, and it's just all that kind of intensity that comes together. It just blows you away.
And I think it's the highs and the lows and all that sort of thing as well. It's kind of
that real emotional roller coaster of kind of passion and emotion and drama. Yeah, just all coming together. Yeah,
in a very sort of short, kind of perfectly packaged, formatted little book. It's great. Love it.
Which books have in bucket loads, so all the better. So what do you love most about writing for modern? Like, what parts of it are your favorite things to kind of get stuck into?
I think really exploring that emotional connection between the characters. That's something that you can never go to. You can never go too deep into that connection. There's always something more you can look for.
You can always go deeper.
As you're always telling me, you always go deeper. That I love. I love that there's a kind of a variety of themes that I've been able to explore in the series, and the kind of the characters as well. Kind of really, looking at sort of different kind of different, but sort of heroines who I'd love to be, really, especially when they meet those men.
Obviously.
I love the focus on the couple as well. I think that kind of you get to know them really well, and you get to know how you get to know so much about them, and so that's what I love about writing. And I love writing the sort of banter and the kind of humorous bits as well as the angsty bits.
Yeah, that kind of like dialogue between them. And I think you're right. One of the things I love about your books is that the heroines always are so strong, and they always have this kind of quality to them where you just feel as though you want to be in their shoes because, of course, because of the heroes, just because they're such fabulous women.
I think I sort of slightly live vicariously through them. So they are the people I'd like to have been in my 20s, possibly. Who also obviously work,
transplant yourself to all these fabulous locations, all these wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely. Because your first book was for Presents was A Scandal Made in London, wasn't it?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah.
So how did I celebrate that one being published? Well, it was a couple of years ago now, and I think, well, I've been working on it for quite a long time, so probably like a bottle of champagne, and a Chinese takeaway normally features quite highly in them.
You need the champagne, of course, but then sometimes just need just a chilled celebration.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, put the kids to bed and kind of just break out champagne. I think that was it.
Absolutely. I hope you do that for every book.
Well, I do actually. Yes, it's always such a relief.
Yeah. When you send that email to me, and like, it's done, I'm washing my hands of it. Already.
Yeah. Yes, the end. It's really, it's such a good feeling there. I love that. It's and then you get to move on to the next one, which is always quite exciting.
Well, yes. Quite. Moving on to the next one again. Because your next book is coming out very shortly as well. Invitation from the Venetian Billionaire, which I just love, and also because I just absolutely adore Venice. So that really helped me fall in love with this book as well. Tell us about that. Tell us about your book. I mean, I know all about it, but please tell everyone about this new book, because it's so fabulous.
Well, so Invitation from the Venetian Billionaire, out in about 2 weeks, is it's book 2 in a trilogy called The Lost Sons of Argentina, which is about 3 brothers, 3 identical triplets who get left in an orphanage in Argentina, and then they get adopted separately, and it's about them finding each other and these women to fall in love with. And so this one is about Rico Rossi, who's the second brother, and he was brought up in Venice, and through circumstances ended up on the streets and has had a very tough life, and he's a bit of a lone wolf. But he, in the course of trying to find his brothers, he meets the heroine Carla, and she's best friend of the heroine of book 1, and he's sort of, they clash swords quite a bit, and he invites her to Venice, and it kind of goes from there. And Venice obviously features quite heavily. It's a main setting for the book, because I as well, because you were just saying about the trilogy, and because I just think this trilogy idea was so inspired. I absolutely loved it, and I know that you got inspiration, was it right, from a real life news story? Yes. So I saw something in the newspaper about these 3 triplets in America who I think it was in the 1960s got adopted separately, and I think it was actually part of an experiment to do with sort of, I don't know quite what exactly went on, but anyway, yes. And then they were monitored, and it was a sort of nature versus nurture thing, and they were monitored as they grew up to see how they the similarities and the differences. Anyway, they found each other because 2 of them went to the same university, and one of them kept being called by the other one's name, really random. And then the third one saw the story in the newspaper. So I thought, what a great sort of starting point to kind of have 3 brothers who kind of end up, and I just put them in different countries, and not for any experiment, just for circumstances. But
And of course, our 3 brothers are all billionaires, as they should be.
Yes.
We've actually got a question as well from Kirsty. So her question for you is, how do you plan and write the books in a series or trilogy?
Probably better than I did for this one is my answer to that. I do remember having conversations with you and Charlotte, saying, I don't know what's going to happen in the next book. You were like, don't worry, it'll be fine. I don't know. So,
and it is.
It is, yeah. So I kind of started off with the first one, and then as I got to know the first one, the first story, then I knew that there were obviously going to be 3, and they had to all find each other, but they all had to be slightly different because they can't all have the same backstory and things. So it was trying to find that kind of the difference, but also the similarities between them, and keeping that connection going. And so I'm making them kind of, they obviously have to meet up, and then you find out more about them, and then they sort of tell you things as they're talking in a strange kind of way in your head.
And one of those things, like you're saying, some things don't really become clear until you have kind of delved into the characters, and even with the trilogy, I feel like we were still in part figuring out kind of.
Well, that's right. And the heroine of the book I've just finished, the book 3, didn't really sort of pop up as the heroine until quite late on, I think, in book. I mean, she appeared, but I hadn't really kind of thought of her as the heroine of book 3 until I'd kind of got to know her a bit better. And I thought, oh yeah, that'd be perfect. So yeah,
exactly, yeah, still figuring
out organically, really.
Yeah, and it's kind of not, and sometimes not pigeonholing yourself into a particular thing, although that does work for people.
Yeah.
But with this one, it just so happened that actually, we're still evolving it as kind of as you were. Right. And speaking of kind of challenges with writing, what do you feel like has been your most challenging romance to write, and why?
Well, so I was writing for Kiss. No. I didn't know how far back to go, but when I was writing for Kiss, I do remember after that first book that I ever wrote for the Kiss line, what was then modern, the Kiss line.
Yeah, kind of like an iteration before one of the.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the second book was really hard because the first one went through quite, I didn't have to do many revisions on it, and I thought, oh, I can do this. And then the second one was a disaster.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to kind of get that sort of, to get to really learn how to kind of, to learn how I work and things like that. So and then the books I wrote during pregnancies and things were quite tricky as well. So immediately afterwards, so those were quite challenging.
Which would you say has been the most challenging of your presents to write?
I think probably that first one, the Scandal Made in London, because trying to sort of to understand all the emotional conflict, the depth and the intensity, and trying to dig deep enough for that was quite difficult. And then knowing how far you can go really, so that was quite challenging, I'd say.
Yeah, and I guess for you that was kind of writing for a new series and getting to grips.
That's right.
The series kind of promises for modern.
Yeah, exactly. And they weren't that. It wasn't that different. It was just a question of really intensifying the focus and the emotional intensity. I think that was. But it was great to write that. I loved writing that first book, even though it was, and there was a lot of people very patient with me while I was sort of trying to get it right and things. So yeah, it's great. But that was definitely challenging.
So we're all good.
Yeah.
This is a great question. What location have you enjoyed writing about the most, and why? Because I know your books kind of have spanned quite, even just for presents, have spanned quite a few, many different locations. So I always love writing about London, and I think that's because I spent my 20s there, and in my head I am still 28 and living in Notting Hill. So London will always be one of my favourite places. But I have to say, with the Billionaire Without Rules, which is out in December, writing about the Bolivian salt flats, I really enjoyed that. It sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah. and that was kind of, that wasn't planned. That kind of came as a result of revising it and editing. And I thought, where can I send them? And they were in Argentina anyway. And so I sent them to these Bolivian salt flats about which I knew nothing. And now I really, really want to go there.
I was going to say, now it's just actually research for your holidays.
I know. And the other place I really want to go to is Beirut, but it's a bit more
slightly different to the Bolivian salt flats.
Yeah. But no, I'd love to go there. They just, all the kind of stuff I saw on YouTube and all the research I did just looked amazing. And they had these kind of luxury lodges with pods and domes, and you can stargaze. Looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. I'm dreaming of going on holiday at the moment.
I know. I mean, and Venice, I'd love to go to Venice as well. I haven't been to Venice for a long time, so I'd love to go back.
Venice is so lovely. It's one of my favourite places, actually.
Yeah. It's been too long.
We went a couple. I think it was probably one of the last holidays I went on before we.
Was it?
Got locked down. At Christmas. Or in the winter, in December, which was absolutely freezing. I don't think I've ever been so cold in my entire life.
Was it quite magical though? Was there imagine it was quite, Venice at Christmas must be really magical.
Yes, really magical. All the lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Actually wasn't that busy because it was kind of heading to Christmas. So actually there was very few tourists around. The most amazing hot chocolate you have ever tasted, which is basically melted chocolate in a cup.
Yeah. My kind of chocolate.
but yeah, but then equally in summer it's meant to be completely amazing as well. So I think it's just one of those places that's just so magical with the water.
Yes. Actually, I wish I could have gone during lockdown, because I'm sure without quite so many people it would have been really amazing, and kind of a different environment and different feeling about it as well.
Yeah, because I think it gets so busy with because it's such a small place, really.
Yes.
But yeah. Yes. This is a great question. Do you have any advice for aspiring authors?
Well, yes, one thing that, I can only really sort of talk about what worked for me. But yeah, I found, so the Romantic Novelists Association New Writer Scheme was brilliant. The feedback that I got from that was really amazing. I would say finish a book, because that's the most difficult thing, is to actually finish it. Yes, and there's nothing more satisfying than getting to the end and and doing that. I would, if you're for category romance, I bought a copy of Kate Walker's 12-point guide to writing romance, and I found that invaluable. That was brilliant. Guidelines on the Mills Boon website. And submit. Don't take criticism personally, because it's not personal, and it's and it's helpful. You've got to develop quite thick skin, I'd say. But also, sorry,
feedback is a good thing.
Feedback is a good thing. Yeah, all feedback is good feedback. And I think, like, you do now quite a lot of pitches or pitch requests, don't you, on Facebook, on Twitter? I think I've seen, which is something that's very different to when I was trying to get published. So yeah, that would be my advice. Finish the book, and then just get some feedback, send it off to whoever, and that would be my advice.
It's that finishing, getting to the end, that's the hardest bit, because you just constantly want to kind of tweak and make it as good as it can be.
But also the beginning of a book is really exciting to write, and you're fired up with all the enthusiasm, and the middle bit can be quite difficult, and if you can get through that, then you're kind of that's well, for me anyway, then I kind of get onto the homeward run, as it were, and then you come out with a book, a 50,000 word book, which is really an achievement, hopefully.
Well, yeah, would you say that the first bit is your favorite bit to write even now?
Yes, it still is. In fact, it's the bit before I put a pen to paper, when the possibilities are endless, and I haven't been sort of, I don't know, I haven't got stuck by myself, or kind of that, getting bogged down with editing, or whether I put certain words in the right place, or that sort of thing. So I love the beginning.
Exploring kind of what you can do and your idea.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go anywhere, and they can do anything, and your characters can be whoever. For me, that's how I start, because I know nothing generally when I start. So
that's interesting, because do you kind of go into it, because I know, like, we obviously talk through like a synopsis, and that's how, like, we do things, but do you find that when you're writing it goes off in a different direction than you thought you were going?
I think it depends on the book. I tend to start with the characters, so I read about a character, or I read about a personality trait, or something that I find interesting, so I start like that. Occasionally I might start with something else, but I tend to start with the characters, and then I sort of think about what's the worst situation they could be in, and try to put them in it, really. And that's how they sort of start.
Really.
So with the book I'm writing at the moment, I've got the first 3 chapters in my head. But after that, I'm slightly could go anyway, really. But it'll work out all right in the end, I think.
Oh, amazing. Well, actually, following off that, we have a really great question from Gemma saying, "Hi, Lucy. Just wondering if you have a writing routine."
I wish I could say yes. No, I don't. I have 2 kids in primary school, so they kind of require a bit of attention every now and then. So I do try and write every day. And I know that I kind of, at the beginning of a book, I can write a lot and then delete a lot, but I tend to get more focused as I get through the book. And when I come up to a deadline, nothing will stop me from writing. So I get really, really focused. But at the beginning, it's quite a lot that's in my head, and I spend a lot of time sort of doing other things while thinking it all through. And then, so I've got a pacemaker. Actually, Heidi Rice, who I saw just popped up there, she put me onto Pacemaker, which is a program where you can log your progress and things, and you can set a kind of a routine. And actually, I found that really helps, because I know now what works for me, and it's not writing 1,000 words a day. For me, it's writing a little bit and often, and then really ramping it up as I get to the end. So my curve goes more like that. That's what works for me.
With word count, or do you do it kind of? I'd be like writing for like 30 minutes a day or so, but you do it with word count rather than timing.
I do it as whatever works, really. I kind of, I have to trust that I will get it done at some point. So but I'm very haphazard, and I'm very easily distracted by tennis that's going on and things like that. So but I get up early in the morning quite a lot. If I need to get the word count up, I get up at 5 and do a couple of hours before everybody else gets up, which is not sustainable for me for very long, but that's how I do it. Can't work late at night.
Like your early morning dedication.
It's alright this time of year. It's not so good in the winter.
And completely with you on getting distracted by the tennis. I'm a little bit worried that Wimbledon in the next couple of weeks is going to really decrease.
I know, but Nadal is not playing, so I'm sort of all right. I'm hoping I'm all right now. Bit gutted on that.
I know. We have another great question from one of our viewers. So from Jane Holland, which is your favourite among the story you've written, and why?
Well, I do love The Secrets She Must Tell, which is book 1 of the trilogy, actually, because the heroine of that book, she's called Georgie. She suffers from quite bad postnatal depression. So she was quite an interesting character to write. And the research I did for that was quite interesting as well. Quite difficult, but quite interesting. So I really love that story. And from previous books, the couple behind the headlines, I still love that story. That was a kiss book. I love that. It was one of those books that was really easy to write, and it just sort of, anyway, one of those rare books. But no, I think The Secret She Must Tell was one of my favorites.
I think you're right, because you had such kind of a wealth of kind of emotion that you could dive into with that character, that there was no trouble going kind of deeper into kind of what was going on in her life and what had been going on, and and it meant that her hero had to be quite sort of he had to be quite, not exactly sensitive, but he had to be kind of a bit careful with her, because she was quite fragile. So I liked that book. It was interesting to write. You're right, you had to really kind of get the dynamic right with them, because there's this kind of really alpha billionaire that still and you still want him to be that, and for their relationship to be really dramatic and intense, but there was kind of a fine balance because of her postpartum psychosis that you really need to get right, which was really different with that one.
But I liked writing that one.
Definitely. Because I know you've written to quite a lot of different kind of romance tropes. Would you say that you have a favorite?
Yes, I do. I love the enemies to lovers trope. I love like the Benedict Beatrice sort of dynamic of much ado about nothing, that kind of thing. And yes, I love that. And I love the older brother's best friend as well. So, I think I have written one book where they were both combined, but I might write another where it's like...
maybe that'll be one of the next. I think you're right. It's that because I absolutely love Much Ado About Nothing. I think that dynamic between the two of them is amazing. I think that's part of the reason why, because one of my favorite romance tropes is the reunion romance, and I think part of it is because they have came from that story, and that they have this really sparky reunion. And
underneath it all is kind of quite a lot of intense whatever emotions going on and things. So I think it's that. What are some of your other favorite tropes, Charlotte? Do you have any kind of other ones?
I don't know, putting on the spot now. I think you never go wrong with a secret baby.
Secret
baby. Or kind of similarly to the kind of enemies to lovers, that kind of forbidden romance where it's all a bit kind of tentative and surreptitious, and you kind of and nobody quite knows how to Yeah. I love that. It's kind of element of danger almost to it.
There's so many of them, aren't there? It's great. You can like, you know, it's a wealth of like a treasure trove of things you can put.
Definitely, I think it's all about kind of how you put them together and kind of layer them in, and just that makes each story so unique, and just really getting to grips with that. But a reunion romance has always been my favorite. I absolutely love a reunion romance. Oh, what a great question. So this is from Louisa Heaton. Hi, Lucy. If you could sit down and have dinner with any of your heroes, who would you choose?
Oh gosh, can I have all of them?
Put them all in a room together, have a dinner party.
Yes. God, that would be cool. You'd have to like leave the room. There'd just be too much testosterone flying around. I think. I don't. That's I think. Yes, from the kiss line, I think Jack from the couple behind the headlines. But from my later ones, I think the latest book I've written, actually, the Billionaire Without Rules. I think he's the former hacker. So I think I would, and he doesn't have any rules. So he likes breaking rules. So I think I'd probably have to set a few so he could break them.
He really just pushed the boundaries. I do really like that about him.
I know.
He's so outrageous and just absolutely going for it. I think I'd have to agree with you. I think of all your heroes, he's probably my favourite as well.
Yeah, I think he's also the freshest in my mind. So he's
he's also got that kind of wounded, like brooding, but he doesn't really give it away, which I also really like. I think because they're like some of my favourite heroes as well, where they don't really give a lot away, but then when you push them just like a little bit too far.
Yes. Plus, he lives in the Caribbean, and he frequently frequents a floating bar in the Caribbean. So what's not to love? Exactly. In fact, if he took me for dinner there, I'd be really happy, because that's quite a cool bar.
So have dinner with him and he'll take you to the floating Caribbean bar.
I'd be right there.
Oh, and that's such a great point. I always forget about this when it's not Christmas, but Laura Gomez says that she loves snowed in, snowbound romances where there's only one bed. I was like,
yes. I love that. I love anywhere where they get stranded and there's only one bed. In fact, that happens in the Billionaire Without Rules. They end up in the Bolivian salt flat. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say.
Don't give too much away.
No, I know. But yes, that I think there's something really lovely about that snowed in kind of. It's all cold outside and it's all warm and snug inside, and it's I think the snow kind of really, it sort of gives everything a bit of a magical look, doesn't it? And it kind of softens everything. Sorry?
You're right, it does. It's that kind of romantic.
Roaring fires, lots of snuggly cashmere, and love it. Yeah.
Kind of chalet, really luxury chalet.
Yes. And then there's nobody else around, so they have to kind of,
they're all alone in this private chalet.
Yes. You can go off and chop wood for the log fire. Oh, quite carried away.
Or do you because I was saying about my favorite kind of hero being that really kind of brooding, like stoic, doesn't really say a lot kind of hero. Do you have a favorite type of hero or heroine as well, for that matter?
Favorite kind of hero, I don't think so. I think I love them. I love the modern heroes, because I think they they think they're so kind of. I love the sort of hero who thinks he's like invincible and doesn't need love, and then you watch them kind of completely
unravel.
I love it. So the tougher they are, the harder they fall, isn't it? The more they try to resist. I quite like that. And my favorite type of heroine, I don't know. I tend to write professional heroines, I suppose, women who kind of either have a job, they're accountants or lawyers or whatever. So I tend to veer towards that. But I just like anybody who kind of springs to mind, who fits the perfect. They have to be perfect for each other, don't they? So
exactly. And sometimes actually you find that it's maybe not your favorite kind of heroine, but actually it is. You're right. It's a perfect heroine for the hero, or the other way around. Actually,
exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what's great. There's in the world of Mills and Boon modern, there are kind of a whole huge range of heroines and heroes, aren't there? So I think it's great.
You're right. There's something for everyone, like the different series. Everyone can come to Mills and Boon and find exactly what they want from a hero and heroine. There's so much choice. Yeah. So true.
So as long as they're right for each other and they fall in love with each other, then that's what it's all about, isn't it? Really,
what you can really ask for.
I know.
And that is what we do promise.
yes, exactly. Yeah, and it's a really powerful thing. I think we need more of it. We need more kind of.
Well, especially at the moment as well, like the past like year or two, like everyone's just needed that kind of escapism and that little bit of just happy ever after in their life, and
that sort of little bit of armchair travel as well. Since nobody's been able to go anywhere, that kind of being swept off into very exotic locations and things is a real. It's lovely when you can't get to it, really. That was quite nice about writing about Venice, actually, because like you said, it sort of did get me out of my four walls for a while, which I kind of needed from time to time. It was nice to sort of even just sort of virtually go somewhere else. So
because do you plan your locations based on where you next want to kind of go to in your head? Or
yes, definitely. Yeah. I think that's yes. Oh, I'm thinking about where should I go next?
I know, I'm just thinking where am I going to find myself next in one of your books?
Portugal, that's where I am currently. Very nice.
I mean, anywhere is great. Oh, so we have another, really quick question. I think this is one of our kind of penultimate questions. Would you ever write a Mills and Boon historical, Lucy? That's from Ian.
Oh, no, I don't think I would. I just love reading them. I really do. I love everything about them. I go to kind of, when I just need a bit of escapism, I love reading historicals. But no, I think I'd get too lost in all the frocks and the kind of the detail, which is so effortless. It's when people write historicals, they make it seem so effortless, but I know it's not. So well, never say never, but no plans at the moment.
Is there another series? If you weren't writing for modern, which other series would you write for?
Oh, interesting. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to tell me. I have no idea. I like the True Love. Well, I've always liked the True Love. Is it the True Love? The True Love line with the emotional. The emotional intensity of all the kind of the emotional side of that. I've always liked that, but I don't know. Yeah, and some of my favourite authors, Mills Boon authors, write for that line as well. Sort of. So
that's good. And keep you writing for modern, so you don't get anywhere.
I hope so. Yeah. Yes, but each one is a different skill set, really, isn't it? So
definitely. All very kind of like different.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. So I think this is our last question coming up, which feels like we've whizzed through all these.
I know.
And yet been chatting for so long. So what was one of the most surprising things that you learned when writing your books?
Oh, interesting question. Yeah. I think it's going to sound really weird, but I think it's sort of like the way my mind works, kind of.
Oh, interesting.
So I kind of every now and then something springs to my mind that is like a little scene or a snippet of dialogue or a comparison that I think, oh, that's really nice. I like that a lot, but it's not really a conscious thing, and it always surprises me whenever I write a book and I come up with a little line of dialogue that I just love, which doesn't happen all the time, but there's just or when you're writing a scene and then suddenly it kind of makes sense for a scene further on, or when just those sort of little unexpected connections or bits of dialogue. That's what I love, and always surprises me when it happens. Sorry,
that you didn't plan for, that it just kind of happens. There's one in invitation from the group from the Venetian Billionaire where that happened. I shall not say then.
Yeah, it's when they're talking about Venice, and it just came to me suddenly, and I really liked that. So yeah, it's quite pleasing and surprising because I hadn't planned for it.
But sometimes they're the best parts that you're like, this just, and that's when it kind of clicks into place, because you just know that like that worked out for a reason.
That's right, and it can sometimes unlock the rest of the book as well, which is can be surprising if you don't know what's happening next, which is quite often my situation.
I sometimes find you're right that sometimes like you'll be reading and the hero will say something, and you're like, with that kind of one line, they've just summed up their entire character.
That's right. Like, I see,
amazing.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
And then that snowballs into like understanding them better, but also the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I think that was our last question. So thank you everyone for watching. Lucy, it's been a pleasure as always.
Yes, well, it's been really nice to chat in person, even if it is over a screen. So it's been lovely, actually. Really nice.
Yeah, like we've chatted on the phone a couple of times, but it's so different when you can actually see the person.
I know, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing. So it's great. It's really nice.
Yeah. So, and I hope you all enjoyed it at home.
Yes, have a great weekend, everyone.
Yes, have a fabulous weekend, and you too, Lucy.
Yes, likewise, Charlotte. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a really nice weekend, and thank you. This has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been brilliant. Yes. Well, cheers, and happy Friday.
Yeah, likewise. Bye.